Okay, quick question for you. Think about this. Are algorithms controlling what sexual health information you can actually access online? Just pause on that for a second. Welcome back to the Deep Dive. Today, we're really pulling back the curtain on what feels like a hidden health crisis. It's playing out right now. In our digital world, we're diving deep into some pretty comprehensive research, looking at how major tech platforms think Meta, Google, TikTok aren't just, well, censoring licensed medical professionals. They seem to be actively amplifying dangerous misinformation about sexual health. It's like a double-edged sword, really, and it cuts deep into public health.
That's absolutely right. And our mission here for this deep dive is basically to be your shortcut through all this complex information. We'll pull out the most important nuggets from quite a stack of sources. We've got investigative reports from MSI Reproductive Choices, the Center for Countering Digital Hate, peer-reviewed studies from places like PMC and PLOS1E, plus investigations by the Washington Post. We want to help you understand not just what's happening, because it is complex, but crucially, why it matters for public health, and frankly, for your own digital literacy, especially, as you mentioned, for young women who often seem to be the main targets here.
Yeah, and believe me, some of the things we're about to get into are, well, they're genuinely startling. We're talking about actual licensed doctors being effectively silenced online just for using correct medical terms. And then there's the rise of this billion-dollar misinformation industry. $1 billion. And, of course, the real-world health consequences that are, stemming directly from all of this digital chaos. It really impacts all of us, whether we realize it right now or not. Our goal is just to give you clarity, some insight. Okay, so let's unpack this a bit. Sounds almost, well, counterintuitive, doesn't it? This idea that these huge platforms aren't just failing to protect us, but are somehow actively contributing to what we're calling a misinformation explosion. How does that even work? It feels like a paradox.
It absolutely is a paradox, and a deeply concerning one. What's really fascinating and troubling is the evidence we're seeing of this sophisticated, monetized, what some reports call a billion-dollar misinformation industry. And it seems specifically targeted at young women. The Washington Post, back in March 2024, they investigated this and found algorithms are, quote, feeding young women streams of videos divorced from scientific evidence. This isn't just random stuff going viral. It looks like a systemic issue.
Right. So it's not just like a few individuals sharing dodgy links. It could be more organized, maybe. Yeah. And when you say monetized, what does that actually look like? How do the algorithms end up being, well, partners in this?
Exactly. It's not accidental. Think about it. These narratives often push certain products, right? Alternative supplements, maybe specific diets, unproven wellness trends, things sold to an audience that's been primed by the misinformation. Every click, every view, every share on those videos translates into ad revenue. For the creators, yes, but also for the platforms themselves. So the algorithms, which are designed purely to maximize engagement, keep people watching, they inadvertently become these profit engines, even if the content is harmful or just plain wrong. And the real impact, we're seeing alarming trends like reports of young women stopping their birth control based on this stuff. That's a massive public health issue right there, potentially impacting countless lives. And it stems from how these platforms work and how this industry exploits it.
Wow, that puts a totally different perspective on it. Okay, so on one side, this misinformation machine. And when we talk about young people getting health info, my mind jumps straight to TikTok. It's huge for that, isn't it? Right. But it sounds like it's particularly caught up in this crisis.
It definitely is, yeah. Researchers looked into TikTok as a health information source in 2024. And what they found was striking. It's becoming, quote, increasingly popular for health info in the U.S., sure, but it's also a breeding ground for misinformation, a real hotbed. There was one specific study PubMed published at the same year looking at misinformation about female pelvic floor conditions on TikTok. It revealed that the videos getting the most views, the highest engagement, often had poor quality information or were just outright false. And this wasn't rare, it was common. It was rapidly spreading, quote, non-evidence-based health information to a huge and often young audience.
So it's not just that the bad info is there, but the platform's own system, the algorithm, is actually boosting it, pushing it to the top. It's almost like it's designed to make the wrong stuff go viral.
Precisely. The system rewards what gets clicks and shares. And unfortunately, sensational or emotionally charged misinformation often gets more clicks than careful evidence-based advice. It's just more engaging, algorithmically speaking. And this gets even worse when you look at other research, like from the University of Louisville in 2024. They showed how sexual health misinformation specifically targets adolescents, particularly around topics like contraception and HPV vaccination. These are critical public health areas. Accurate info here saves lives, prevents illness. So misinformation targeting this group, it has profound, long-lasting consequences. It shapes their choices at a really crucial time.
That's chilling. That dual threat you mentioned, being flooded with lies, while at the same time potentially being cut off from the truth. It really makes you wonder, if these platforms are letting this misinformation run wild, what's happening to the people trying to provide accurate information? You know, the doctors, the actual experts. What's the other side of this coin look like?
And that is the crucial next piece of the puzzle. It's not just promotion of the bad, it's also suppression of the good. We are seeing a really concerning silencing effect. Licensed medical professionals are being actively hindered, blocked from sharing accurate, sometimes life-saving information. Imagine you post vital health advice, but instead of reaching people, it just disappears. It's hidden from most feeds, not deleted, just invisible. That's shadow banning. Your content is basically talking into a void, and you might not even realize it's happening.
So your voice just gets muted. Without warning, without explanation. How do they do that? Is it all automated, algorithms, or are people involved too?
It seems to be a mix. It often starts with automated systems, yeah, but then it can be made worse by what's called malicious flagging. Sage Journals looked into this in 2025, calling flagging a silencing tool. It's not always bots. Sometimes it's actual groups of people who disagree with, say, certain medical facts, and they coordinate to falsely report content as inappropriate. The Flow Space also reported in 2025 that shadow bans can happen just when accounts use medically accurate terms, like vagina or sex. And it's widespread. HuffPost UK reported back in 2023 how posts get falsely flagged just for mentioning sexual health. We're talking basic anatomy, essential health topics being treated like they're offensive, which leads to this massive suppression.
That's astonishing. Just using the correct medical words can get you silenced. What kind of impact does that actually have on healthcare providers, the ones trying to educate online, trying to do their jobs in this digital space?
Well, it has a profound impact. And a demoralizing one. A University of Michigan dissertation in 2023 found healthcare providers really feel like content moderation restricts them from sharing medically accurate information. I mean, think about it. These are experts, years of training, clinical experience. They're trying to fight back against all the misinformation, and they find themselves blocked by these opaque algorithms, these constantly shifting rules. They feel like their hands are tied, and this isn't just annoying for them, it's a direct hit to public health education. It makes it harder for all of us to get reliable advice.
Okay, this raises a huge question then. If licensed doctors, credentialed professionals, are getting sidelined for using basic terms like vagina, how come influencers who often have zero medical background seem to get away with posting all sorts of things? Sometimes really questionable health advice. It feels like a really bizarre, almost dangerous inconsistency. What's driving that?
It is a bizarre inconsistency, and it points to something deeper, probably a mix of ambiguous policies and potentially algorithmic bias. There was a PMC study in 2024 titled, quite pointedly, Facebook doesn't like sexual health or sexual pleasure. It highlighted what it called big tech's ambiguous content moderation policies. And interestingly, it found that sexual pleasure remains an overlooked dimension despite research importance. That's a subtle but really telling point. It suggests the algorithms, maybe even the human moderators, might be biased, maybe unintentionally, maybe not against evidence-based sexual health education. Especially if it touches on anything deemed sensitive or explicitly sexual, even if it's medically crucial. It's almost like the platforms have this puritanical filter. They can't tell the difference between vital health info and something inappropriate for advertisers. So entertainment wins over education. And unfortunately, misinformation often wins over sound medical advice. And if we zoom out, connect this to the bigger picture, this isn't just a US problem or a European problem. No, it's a truly global issue. And it has serious, tangible, real-world health consequences. The policies set by these big tech companies, mostly based in the US, they ripple outwards. They affect people everywhere, often with really devastating results.
That's such a crucial point. It's easy to forget this isn't just happening in our own filter bubbles, is it? Can you give us a sense of how this plays out internationally, like specific examples?
Absolutely not just our bubbles. That MSI Reproductive Choices and Center for Countering Digital Hate report from 2024, it lays it out starkly. It shows Meta and Google censoring accurate sexual and reproductive health info while promoting anti-choice misinformation in multiple countries. They looked at Ghana, Kenya, Mexico, Nigeria, Vietnam. Think about places like Ghana or Nigeria. Access to traditional medical info, especially on contraception or family planning, might already be limited. So when digital censorship blocks accurate info online, women seeking help might instead find harmful myths or get directed to dangerous, unproven cures. And in places like Mexico or Vietnam, where public health campaigns on sexual health are vital, these same tech policies are effectively choking off official advice, while amplifying narratives that lead to unintended pregnancies or misinformation about STIs, things like that. It creates these huge knowledge gaps where good information is desperately needed.
And like you said before, when you're censored like this, especially with shadow banning, it's often invisible, right?
Yeah.
That lack of transparency must make it almost impossible for doctors or health organizations to even know what's happening, let alone fight back.
Exactly. Yeah, Science Direct had a legal analysis in 2023 looking at transparency rights, and it specifically mentioned content moderation sanctions undetectable to those affected. This undetectable aspect of shadow banning is key. Creators often have no idea why their engagement dropped or even that their reach is being throttled. It's just a black box. You put hours into creating good content, you hit post and crickets. No explanation, no way to appeal effectively. It creates this environment where really important information can just be suppressed without anyone being held accountable.
So just to bring it back home for everyone listening and really underline why this matters to you, this isn't some abstract debate about algorithms and doctors. It's about your access to crucial health information. It's about the health outcomes of people everywhere. It's about the fundamental right to make informed decisions about your own body. It really does impact all of us, directly or indirectly. It's shaping the entire landscape of health information for a whole generation. Okay, so just to quickly recap what we've dug into in this deep dive, we've seen this dual problem, right? Pervasive misinformation and insidious censorship happening across huge platforms, Meta, Google, TikTok. We've seen how they can maybe inadvertently, but sometimes actively harm public health by silencing trusted experts and by letting this sophisticated billion-dollar industry target vulnerable people, especially young women, with unverified, often dangerous claims. And crucially, this isn't just happening here, it's global. It has serious real-world health consequences affecting millions.
Which really leaves us with a pretty important question for you, the listener, to think about. In a world where these digital platforms are, let's face it, increasingly our main source of information, shaping how we understand everything from politics to our own health, what responsibility do we have as individuals to really critically look at the health content we see online? And maybe more importantly, how can we actively support the independent, verified health sources, the educators who are being pushed aside or silenced? How do we protect our collective access to accurate, evidence-based, potentially life-saving information? Because the future of public health, in many ways, really depends on how we answer that.